Yeah, yeah. In the previous lectures, we have extensively dealt with the proposition that is uh, which were laid down under the provisions of Section 300 CRPC, read with Article 20 sub plus 2 CPC of CRPC, no, of the Constitution of India. Huh? Then you learned how the doctrine of Actio Personalis Moritere cum Persona um, has come into application in Indian law from the judgment of the Supreme Court in the year 1964, Bondeda Gajapati Rao versus State of Andhra Pradesh. I gave it to you. The facts of the case upon the death of the convict upon the death of the accused person in jail after conviction. The children wanted to come on record. The Supreme Court did not permit it. The reason asked was they wanted to claim money. After the death of a person, there is no point in bringing. So the doctrine of actio personalis moritere cum persona came into play in that. But only the mm, the the provisions in CRPC only mandate that here the abatement procedure, the abatement of criminal proceeding cannot take place provided where the conviction is with regard to fine only, that is laid down under section 394 CRPC. So 394 distinguishes clearly that the criminal appeals come to an end, extinguish, abate under section 394 in all appeals except an appeal from appeal against the order of a fine. If a man is only ordered to go to jail, the man dies, then there is no question of asking family members to take the place of the father, that you should be substituted and you go to jail. Like in civil proceeding, the plaintiff dies, the children, the wife and children come on record, because under the provisions of section 52 of the CRPC, the liability of the heir is quantified, but not in criminal law. The heirs are not liable to undergo punishment in place of the deceased. Yes, in case the court has ordered fine against which can be recovered from the estate of the deceased, in which even the heirs and legal representatives are liable, bound and liable to pay that fine to the government, Union of India, state government, or to the victim, as may have been ordered by the court. Please note the distinction between section 394 CRPC concerning abatement. As regard the procedure with regard to summons, trial before a court of sessions, starting commencing from the section 225 onwards, and a trial before a magistrate in a warrant case on a police report, and trial before a magistrate in cases otherwise than a police report, then trial before a magistrate in summon case, and trial before a magistrate in summary cases. So these are the 5 trials which are broadly, but none of these provisions from section 235, 225 onwards, you will say 206, 59, 60, it doesn't speak of abatement, but there is a vague reference to in someone's cases where complainant dies, complainant, the accused is acquitted. So the Supreme Court has held that in Bondeda's case, Subbaya's case, the moment the uh, even trial in the trial court accused dies, the proceedings terminate, following the terminology borrowing the same principle as used in section 394 CRPC with regard to the abatement of the appeal. That was the ratio. So I don't think anybody else. Then we also learned the proposition that I gave you, the proposition, some certain judgments which I would like to recapitulate. I think whether you have gone it or not, under section 300 CRPC, then article 20 sub clause 2 CRPC, read with section 26 of the General Clauses Act, in Jabal Jeopardy cases. The 3 cases, the leading cases which I gave it to you. Number 1, the leading case in that case is Makbul's case. That you may see that AIR 1953 Supreme Court, Makbul Hussain versus State of Bombay. That judgment, when you can invoke the doctrine of double jeopardy. Then S. Venkatraman's case, S. Venkatraman versus Union of India, that is also a case of the year 1954. They're all Constitution bench judgment. Please mind that they are very important. Then the judgment I gave you of Leo Roy Frey versus Superintendent District, where the gentleman imported certain good from Pakistan. He was arrested at the Tehari jail, and when he was prosecuted by the police officers under the Excise Acts, under the provisions of a Sea Customs Act, where the fine was imposed, then subsequently prosecuted by the magistrate. So the Constitution bench of the Supreme Court held that the person who was penalized under the Customs Act, a person who was penalized under the Sea Customs Act or a Customs Act or any other provisions where the trial was held before a tribunal, before a quasi-judicial officer, that cannot be called conviction by any stretch of imagination. His subsequent trial before a judicial magistrate is allowed, and the accused would not be permitted to invoke the doctrine of double jeopardy, which I explained to you, three judgment in that regard. Okay. So today I have shared with you some important judgments with regard to. Then we discuss the provisions of the discharge of an accused under Section 227 by the Court of Session, even before evidence is led. Then before the trial before a magistrate in a warrant case, how the magistrate discharges an accused under Section 239 CRPC in cases which are in the warrant cases which are filed on a police report. Then under Section 245 CRPC, similarly the magistrate is enjoined with power to discharge the accused person in warrant cases, in cases otherwise than in police report, mean where the police officer has not filed a case against, has not taken cognizance of your case by accepting FIR. You have filed a private complaint under 190, right, with Section 200. If it's a warrant case, it is sent back to the magistrate. The magistrate tries it as a warrant case. Okay? But there is no provision in the CRPC for discharge in respect of a trial of summons cases, which I explained to you. And if you read it very carefully, in the summons trial, there is no provision. Please note that here. Now, what is the remedy and how you can come before the what case? Then I gave you yesterday Kanuga Rawat's case. That's why she came. You have a power to come to the High Court, or you may go to the Court of Session under Section 397 CRPC. Kindly know that the Court of Session along with the High Court under Section 397 and Section 401. 397 are the powers of the Sessions Court, and Section 401 is the power of the High Court. Normally, the High Court tells before invoking the powers of the High Court under 401, but parties better to go to the Court of Session, because if the Court of Session rejects the your revision application, you have one more inning before the High Court. Of course, by not filing a similar revision, you may come in writ petition in appropriate cases. That is how I will give, that is a remedy under Section 397. Can you open Section 97? I'll compare and explain to you the strategy 397 and 401. Just open this. Section 397 खोल लीजिए. See, calling for record to exercise power of revision. The High Court or any Court of Session judge may call for examining the record of any proceeding before the inferior criminal court situate within its or local jurisdiction for the purpose of satisfying itself the correctness, legality, propriety of finding of the sentence, order, recorded pass, and the regularity of the proceeding of inferior court, and may calling on such record, directing the execution of the sentence order to be suspended and accused is confined, that may be released on bail on so and so. Please note that this power under section 397 is invoked when there is no specific right of appeal. Huh? Huh? Kindly note, the right of appeal is a statutory right which you learned under the provisions of a scheme of the CRPC, that is section 274 onwards. Yes, एक minute. Yeah, the provision relating to appeal 397, isn't it? Yeah. Yeah. As regard the, when you just open, I'll point out to you, see the provision relating to appeals. Yeah. Chapter 29 refers to appeal. Section 372 से लेकर 394, 390, 394, 394 deal with appeal. Appeal is a statutory right. Appeals are basically provided against conviction and fine, which are final orders. But so far as issuing a process or issuing witness summons, framing of the charges, addition and additional, there are not final orders. They are known as actually interlocutory orders which are passed during. But some of the court judgments are held that here issuing a process or not issuing process, though it is not appealable, it may be an interlocutory order, but it has the effect of curtailing the substantive right of the parties. So, when there is no appeal is provided under from section 372 to 394 CRPC, so you can approach the court of session under 397 CRPC or to the High Court under section 401. Now, please open section 401. The High Court powers of revision. Section 399 dealing with session judge power of revision. Section 399, 397 speaks a reference to both sessions as well as High Court. 399 specific power of the Court of Session, and 401 specific power of the High Court. But you cannot start two parallel revisions both in Court of Sessions and High Court simultaneously. Upon rejection of a revision application in the Court of Session, you cannot come to the High Court and file a second revision. Not permissible. Please note that. That is very important. Yes. Maybe once the Court of Session reject your application under 397 and 399, what proceeding can you file in the High Court? Anybody knows? Because it is not appealable order. Anybody knows? Can you please tell?
By filing writ.
Under what provisions?
Article 32?
No, Article 227, 32 Supreme Court, my dear. Article 32 applies to only Supreme Court. Please note that Article 227. Under Article 227, the High Court is exercising supervisory powers. Inherent supervisory powers over lower court, lower judiciary. Then under the provisions of section 483 खोलिए CRPC. Section 483. If the Court of Session has rejected your revision application, you have the option of coming under Article 227, you rightly said it. That is read with Section 483, duty of the High Court to exercise continuous superintendence over Court of Judicial Magistrate. Then under Section 482, inherent powers. Please note that you may club Section 482, that is inherent powers, in order to prevent prevent the abuse of the process of the court or securing the ends of justice, you may move the High Court at any time. Yeah, please open Article 227. I want you to make you understand. I'm just giving you open Article 227. 1 minute. I will just take my Constitution of India. Give me 1 minute. So your remedy is to come either under section 482 or along with 482 under Article 227. Please read the power of the High Court under Article 227. In the Bombay High Court, Article 227 is exercised in the criminal appellate side jurisdiction. Article 227 kholiye. I will read it out. Yes. See, power of superintendence over the court of, over all courts by the High Court. Every High Court shall have superintendence over courts and tribunals throughout the territories in relation to which exercise the jurisdiction. Without prejudice to the generality of the foregoing provision, the High Court may call for returns of the court, make general regulations, prescribe form. High Court may settle tables, provided nothing in this deemed to confer the High Court power of superintendence over the control of tribunal constituted any other law relating to armed forces is excluded. Yeah, these are the powers. Whereas power under section 483, duty of the High Court to act as a superintendent over the judicial magistrate and not the. Every High Court shall exercise superintendence over the High Court over the courts of judicial magistrates subordinate to it to ensure that there is a expeditious proper disposal of the cases. Whereas Article 227 is very wide. High Court can exercise power of superintendence over the Court of Session, district courts, Court of Small Causes Court, City Civil Court, all tribunals in state of Maharashtra, Consumer Court, Labor Tribunal, every matter. It is a watchdog of democracy, judiciary in the state. Article 227 is very strong weapon in the hand of the High Court. So when a revision application is rejected by the Court of Sessions, you may come to the High Court under Article 227. Even High Courts are entertaining application under 482 CRPC, namely inherent powers. Kindly note that. That is the provision. Then I told you that here, now under the scheme of the provisions of CRPC, the discharge provisions, the power of a discharge are only given in a trial before the Court of Sessions and a magistrate in a warrant cases, and not in summons cases. That I will once again. Some judgments I like, because you know that various cases, why 482? Because it is only private complaints. In the case of private complaints, if they are improperly filed, if there is no cause of action, if the allegations are blatantly false, then the High Court interferes. Otherwise, the court says that you will have to undergo the procedure laid down under section 251 CRPC. Now 251 CRPC क्या कहता है? देखिए summons cases के अंदर substance of the accusation to be stated. You go before the magistrate. You are required to go before the magistrate. Probably magistrate has a right to even record evidence. Many people, because the reason why the legislature has not provided a provision for discharge from in chapter 20, that is in summons trial, is because summons trials are likely to be disposed of expeditiously, as the magistrate is under no obligation to frame formal charges. See the language of section 251. I'll just read it for you. When the summons case, accused appears brought before a magistrate, particulars of the offence which is accused shall be stated to him, and shall be asked whether he pleads guilty or has defence, but shall not be necessary to frame a formal charge. Kindly note that here, in a case, in a trial before a court of sessions, framing of a charge is mandatory, because these are serious offences. Then in a trial before the magistrate, in a warrant case, that is, I'll point out the sections. See section 227. Under the provisions of section 227, 228, session trial के अंदर framing of charges is mandatory. I mean, it starts from 225, 226, 225, 226. The public prosecutor describes the facts of the case to the learned session judge. He will insist before the learned judge the police case, the charge sheet contains substantial material against the accused and the name of the witnesses who are sought to be examined. And your lordship may see that here, this is a preeminently fit case where it can go ahead. Then the magistrate, the learned session judge, after being satisfied, then he will give an opportunity to the other side, the accused. Look here, the public prosecutor wants to frame charges against you. What do you want to say? Then at this juncture, the accused person, also through his lawyer, to a defense counsel is called, makes an application under section 227. My lord, the allegations of the public prosecutor are erroneous. Erroneous. There is no material before the court for framing of a charge. My lord may kindly see that none of the allegations are connecting me. There is no necessity for the accused to stand up a trial, waste the time of the court and prosecution and exchequer of the government. So the court will apply its judicial mind. After applying its judicial mind, but perusing the entire charge sheet, all documents exhibited to it, all the documents exhibited to it, and seeing the list of documents which are furnished, whether the learned session judge has to give a judicial finding, apply his judicial mind, whether I should discharge the accused or I should go ahead and frame a charge. So the moment he sees that here there is material on record to go ahead, there is substantial material. For example, in a prosecution for of a murder under section 302, yes, the prosecution has been successfully proved before the court that A has committed the murder of B. The police officer has received first information. Immediately after receiving information, he has entered the information in his case diary under section 172. Immediately after entering thereafter, he went to the scene of offence. Thereafter, he collected evidence. He has taken the photographers. He has called for the medical expert. He has called for the chemical analysis expert, fingerprint experts. Please note that panchanamas under section 100. These are all important steps in the criminal trial. These all steps. Then the provisions of section 7, 8 of the Indian Evidence Act, motive, preparation, conduct, they have been complied with. Then the provisions of a doctrine of alibi, that the accused has taken up raised a plea of alibi. He was not there at the scene of the offence. The police officer had made searches, made inquiry and brought on record the entire. The police officer has taken the CCTV camera of the location. Yes, found it. So these are all evident. The police officer has taken the DNA record, the DNA record to match the blood, the semen, whatever may be, if the offence is concerned. All these, the chemical analysis report to finding out the fingerprints expert report, these are all necessity. These are all clubbed together. The police has also produced 161 statement, examination of the witnesses. Then there are statements under section 164 CRPC in the nature of confession. The court will say that there is substantial material. So this is all you require in a criminal trial. Whatever I mentioned to you, mind you know that here, if it is all provided under the provisions of section 173 CRPC, that is a police report must contain all this. And the police, after giving a copy, giving it to the magistrate does the committal proceeding under section 209 CRPC. He commits the case to the court of sessions and the learned session judge, then he goes to frame the charges. Upon being totally satisfied, yes, the accused has to stand up for a trial. But accused has a right to, I told you, make an application for discharge to the session judge. If it is rejected, you have a right to come to the High Court challenging it under Article 227. Please note that. Or if even not here, if application rejected under 227, you have a right to come in revision to the High Court under 401, because they are independent. You cannot go to the session court because this is a trial before a court of session. The same judge also, you can independently go to the High Court under 401 in revisional power. Of course, the order refusing to discharge you is not an appealable order, because it is not provided under the scheme of the appeal. So that means you are not remediless. So your remedy is to file a revision application under section 401, or you come in writ petition under Article 227, or club it under 482. All these application in the Bombay High Court, section 401 revision and Article 227 and section 482 are normally heard before a single judge, unless the accused has raised the violation of fundamental right, in which event the matter will be placed before the division bench of the Bombay High Court as per the High Court original side, appellate side criminal rules. Please note that here. You can see the High Court appellate side rules here. Then that is apart. The moment you have gone to the High Court against the order, it is necessary that you must make an application staying the proceedings before the court of session. It is the discretion of the High Court whether to stay the proceedings or not, or the High Court will say that may pass the order at the time of the admission itself. According to me, no opinion. The session judge has expressed his opinion in accordance with law, and there is no need to entertain the present writ petition or application under 482 or an application under section 401, and the same stand dismissed. But if the court sees that here a substantial question of law has been raised, an important issue has come before the court, there is no material, and I would like to this matter requires to has a ramification. The court may say formally admit the matter. Rule, it may say that till the disposal hearing of the application, the proceedings before the court of session may be stayed. Why? Because why not stay? If you don't ask for a stay, when one side your matter is pending before the High Court challenging the framing of charges, and another side your matter is going on before the court of session, so the entire object will be defeated. It will become infructuous. So normally the higher court will stay the proceeding till the hearing and final disposal of the writ petition or an application under 482 CRPC or a revision application under section 401 CRPC. High Court will say stay be granted and the matter is expedited, be taken up, or if the court has time, with the consent of both the parties, the matter is taken up on the spot, and judges, after hearing both the parties, giving opportunity, file your written submission or file your list of document, completed, the court passes order. That is how it is done, the court of session. Now, as regard, in trial before a warrant magistrate, in a trial of warrant case before the magistrate, the charges are framed by the magistrate under section 240 CRPC. Please note that here compliance with section 207. 207 क्या कहता है? You must know that mean that it is mandatory for the prosecutor to furnish a copy of the entire charge sheet to the accused person. Yeah, 207 में check कर लीजिए आप. 207 CRPC is mandatory, supplying to the accused copy of the police report and other document. So you must immediately ask, if you are a lawyer for the defense, charge sheet is filed, they have not given me the documents. Police is relying upon CCTV camera proceeding. They are relying upon electronic records. Please note that as a good defense lawyer, what will you do that here? The record, the copies which are supplied to you by the public prosecutor of the under the Information Technology Act. For example, CD diya aapko, pen drive diya. They are not primary evidence. They are not primary evidence. You have to ask them to give. You will have to obtain. You have to insist that here. Have you obtained the certificate from the concerned authorities under the Information Technology Act? So one of the provision under the Indian Evidence Act, when you see that here, when a copy is given to you, CD cassette, please note that it is merely it is a secondary evidence, which is a weak piece of evidence. A secondary evidence is not admissible unless you show before the court of law that where is the primary evidence. In primary evidence, kahan hai original evidence? In whose possession it is? Where is the original? You are required to prove before the court of law. If you are not prepared to give a satisfactory explanation, the court will reject it. Section 62 of the Evidence Act makes a provision for secondary evidence, primary evidence, and section 63 and 65 makes a provision for a secondary evidence. One example, a CD has been given to you, or a cassette has been given to you, then you are required to follow the provisions of section 65A, 65B of the Evidence Act. As an alert lawyer, it is only admissible 65B provided a certificate under subsection 4, 65B ka. 65B is obtained. You must ask the police officer and you must raise objection. This document should not be allowed to be. He has not given me inspection. You ask for interrogatories under the scheme of the CRPC. You have a right to ask for the interrogatories. I will give you, compare the provisions of CPC and CRPC in that regard. CPC ke andar bhi provision hai interrogatories inspection and also under the CRPC. So, section, that is the procedure. 207 compliance must be there. Entire copies must be furnished to the accused. It is only then section 239 tells you when accused shall be discharged. Upon considering the police report and document under 173, making the examination, if any. Whereas under section 227, it is not mandatory for the session judge to examine. See, the word examination is not there. But only considering the documents and record. But here, magistrate is also enjoined with a duty to examine the accused person, party examine, then after being set and give the opportunity to both the sides, prosecution as well as defense. Then after being heard, then he shall discharge the accused. 239 ke andar. So here also the power of discharge are there. Whereas the magistrate has also, this is in warrant cases on police report under section 173, that is a charge sheet. FIR file करने के बाद 154 में the police has taken cognizance and he filed a charge. Now in cases where the warrant cases are tried by the magistrate on the basis of report otherwise than on a police report, that is on a private complaint under section 190 read with section 200, in such a case, if it's a warrant case where punishable for more than 2 years, the under section 245, the magistrate has power to again discharge the accused if he finds that there is no material in record. There is no material in record. And there is a, see that if upon taking all the evidence referred to in section 244, so 244 mandates that magistrate shall proceed on the position, take evidence and record. So he is under obligation to record evidence. But there are some judgments of the various courts in India. Examination of the accused is not mandatory at the discretion of the judge, of the magistrate. So in some of the cases, if you are a good lawyer, you would be able to convince the learned magistrate, Your Honor, in this matter, there is nothing. For example, the case is filed as a warrant case, but there is no material. For example, 327, vicarious, grievous hurt has been caused, which is punishable for more than 2 years and 3 years. It's a warrant case triable. Then evidence is coming before the court. The prosecution has not produced medical evidence. Injury report is not there. When injury report is not there, police report is not there, doctor's report is not there, then how do you expect the charge to be proved? The magistrate may say that there is no need to record evidence. And complainant is not coming forward. Summons have been issued, warrants have been issued. So the magistrate can exercise his discretion under section 245 and discharge the accused. Now see that in summons cases, which is commencing from 251 onwards, accused appears before the magistrate, particulars of the offence accused shall be stated and asked whether pleads guilty and defend, and shall not necessary to frame. There is no necessity to frame charges here, but the Supreme Court in some of the cases have said under 251 magistrate has power to drop the cases, which I will take. One of the famous leading case of Arvind Kejriwal versus Sibbal's case. Sibbal's case, which is pending still in the Delhi High Court now. Then the Supreme Court has remanded back to the Delhi High Court. You consider the legal position. That is the position. Okay, and that is the provision. And in summary trial, check karenge yahan pe, there is one section which says that here, I'm sorry, in the trial of summons cases by magistrate, 251 ho gaya, there is one section which speaks of power of the court to stop proceedings. That is section 258. Kindly note that this is a very important provision. In any summons case, summons case means case which is punishable up to 2 years, less than 2 years. Please note that. Instituted otherwise than a complaint, magistrate of the first class with the previous sanction of the chief MM, any other judicial magistrate for reason recorded to him, stop the proceeding at any stage without pronouncing judgment. That means allow the evidence to be recorded of the party, judgment need not be given. And where the stoppage of the proceeding is made after the evidence of the principal witness. That means recording of the evidence is important. If the court has recorded the evidence of one principal witness, somebody says that here, defamation case ke andar I was abused, vilification campaign started here, so and so, the magistrate will come to a record. All this vilification, defamation are falling within the exception to section 499, and there is no prima facie case. So the magistrate can stop the proceeding under this. Has been recorded, pronounced judgment and acquittal, and that acquittal is regarded as discharge. See that this interesting, I was explained to you some of the judgment relating to this provision. This is one case of a discharge under section 258. This is a trial of summons cases where evidence is recorded of one principal witness, then the magistrate stopped the proceeding. He says, I am not convinced how the prosecution, how the complainant is conducting the case. And whatever the witness has deposed before the court, it does not inspire any confidence. Samjhe na aap? It doesn't inspire any confidence. And I don't think I would like to proceed with this case. He will make up his mind, I am stopping the proceeding. Stop it, no further witnesses I am examining, because your complainant himself is unable to give the proper evidence. So why should I waste the time of the court and the party's time? So this is one provision. It says I will stop the proceeding. Then drop the proceeding. Then in that event he passes the order, I will acquit. Judgment of acquittal is recorded. Mean the accused stands discharged. So doctrine of double jeopardy will apply here, because no second trial will take place. Evidence is recorded. In the earlier case under section 227, 236 and 245, no evidence was recorded. If the police come out with a case subsequently, we have got more cogent evidence, new trial can be filed, new trial can be instituted, but not in order under section 258, where the learned magistrate records evidence, number one, and he passes an order that here, I would like to drop the proceeding because I am not convinced with the evidence of the principal witness. Then the order of acquittal, and that has the effect of a discharge. So it is again arguable. So when a second case want to be started by the if the complainant wants to nullify the effect of this section 245, he has to convince the magistrate in a second complaint, my lord, at the time when I filed the first complaint, your lordship was pleased to drop the proceeding and recording acquittal and which is in the nature of a discharge, but I have now collected more evidence in that regard. If you convince the court and there is a change of events before the court, then the magistrate may reconsider. But it's a difficult case normally, the court, because the court is likely to protect the accused under section 300 and under the provisions of article 20 subclause 2 of the Constitution of India, read with section 26 of the General Clauses Act, because they should not be parties should not be vexed twice for the same trial. Why are you wasting the time of the court and other side here? But if substantially good case is made out in Indian and under the Indian law, doors are open for reopening of a case. Please note that. Whereas summary cases which are started from section 260 onwards, these are all petty offences in which the punishment does not exceed more than 3 months. Please note that the maximum punishment cannot exceed more than 3 months in the matter. That is summary cases. Summary case में यहाँ पे that is a section, when you see it, section 262, the same procedure is followed. Again, charges are not framed. The maximum punishment is a 3 months cases trial. Then trials, all simple cases are given here to the magistrate. So this is the history. Now some of the cases, before I want to proceed with the cases of the Supreme Court. That is, I want to deal with the case of K.M. Matthews case, K.M. Matthew versus State of Kerala, which was of the year 2000, the famous judgment of the year 1992, very famous judgment. I will discuss the implication of this judgment. This judgment is a very leading judgment on the point. K.M. Matthew was an advocate who had filed a defamation proceeding against the publisher in Kerala. Then I will tell you what happens, how the magistrate issues process, then how the proceedings were got quashed. Then I will come. Then iske baad, though there is no specific provision, so this was a trial by the magistrate in summons cases where there is no provision for discharge. The Supreme Court took the plea that here there is no bar to drop the proceeding against the accused if complaint does not prima facie decision can be accused. That is, please see the judgment of the Supreme Court in K.M. Matthew versus State of Kerala. AIR 1992 Supreme Court, page number 2206. You take up this judgment. This I will take. Second judgment is Adalat Prasad, 3-bench judgment case. The very judgment given by Justice Hegde, Hegde's bench here. Then third important judgment, Adalat Prasad के बाद Subramaniam's case, which arose from Bombay, I'll give you. सुब्रमण्यम केस के बाद then the Supreme Court made a departure in one of the cases which I would like to give you. The parties' name are. I will first deal with first deal with one by one this case. Just note it down. When you see your net I have given you, just see the WhatsApp to recapitulate what judgments are given. This morning while you have posted, I will recapitulate my memory here. Yeah.
Sir, are you talking about Bhushan Kumar and another versus State
Yes,
of
yes,
Delhi?
yes, yes. Bhushan Kumar ka bhi hai. I'll just give you. So I will go chronologically. Number first judgment is KM Matthew is the first one. Second is Subramaniam Setu Raman's case, that is of the year 2004. Third is Bhushan Kumar versus State of NCP Delhi. Then last finally is Arvind Kejriwal versus Amit Sibal, who is a senior advocate in Delhi and the Supreme Court. These four judgments I will deal with. I will tell you how the Supreme Court also, the three-bench judgment of the Supreme Court judgment in the case of what you call it, Adalat Prasad's case and Subramaniam case was not brought to the notice of the Supreme Court in Kumar's case, Bhushan Kumar's case. So Bhushan Kumar's case, when the attention of the Supreme Court is not brought to the previous judgment, that judgment is called, anybody knows, per inquirium. Kya bolte hain? Per inquirium, it is not a binding precedent. When a judgment is required to be binding precedent, it is called ratio decidendi of a case. Kya bolte hain? Ratio decidendi. That is a per curiam judgment, which is all judgments of the previous court are been brought and which is binding nature. When you argued a matter before a second, suppose a division bench, a two-bench judge, or maybe of equal strength bench, without pointing out the earlier court judgment, if a judgment is given which is contrary to the earlier ruling, that status is known as a per inquirium. So that is how the per inquirium is discussed. Then subsequently the Supreme Court discussed. Now first, I would like to take you through the important judgment of KM Matthew versus State of Kerala, given by Justice Jagannath Shetty and Justice Yogendra Dayal's bench. A very intelligent, very important judgment. Of course, they have their own point of view. Every judge has their own point of view. It is a beautiful marshalling of judicial mind. Very intellectual way they have expressed it, very important. So the crux of the case is here. In the present matter, this particular matter in KM Matthew, when you open it up, I'll tell you, this Bishop Matthew is the chief editor of Malayalam Manorama in Kerala. It's a daily newspaper with wide circulation in the state of Kerala. Seems to be the language in the language. All of you know that. Kottayam, Morami, it is the largest newspaper. Then what happened? The respondent is an advocate. He was agreed by the news item published in the Daily. Some news item which is detrimental or maybe derogatory to the judiciary or some person's advocates was written down. Then he lodged a complaint with the Court of Addition Magistrate in Kerala under Section 534 IPC. He joined various the editor, chief editor, publisher, printer, सबको पार्टी बना दिया. Paragraph number 3 में check करें आप. The learned magistrate. So this was the complaint. Please note that Section 190 read with Section 200. This is a private complaint. This is a because the cases under Section 500 are tried as a summary trial. Trial before a magistrate in summons cases. Because the punishment is less than 2 years, up to 2 years. About 2 years, because you should know the distinction between what is a trial before the court in a warrant cases and summon cases. If you don't know the distinction, you won't understand warrant cases, session cases, some trial cases. Please bear in mind the definition of warrant case in section 2x. It's a case relating to offense punishable with death, imprisonment, or imprisonment term exceeding 2 years. So if the punishment is exceeding 2 years, it becomes a warrant case. Then section 2W देखिए आप 2W में summons case mean relating to offense and not being a warrant case. So offense should be imprisonment should be granted less than 2 years. Then it becomes summons case. So up to 2 years it's a summons cases. So we have to go. So when it's a summon case, it's a triable before the magistrate under the provisions of please know the sections is very, very important. When you open CRPC, अभी हमने देखोला था. So this case becomes triable under the provisions of section 251. That is chapter 20. याद रख लीजिए. 251 से लेकर section 259. Okay. So there is no provision for specific discharge here, except for dropping the proceeding. So when there is no specific provision for discharge, let us see that here. So this gentleman has filed a complaint of defamation before the magistrate who took cognizance. So when a magistrate before whom the complaint is filed under section 190 read with section 200 CRPC, he will examine the complainant and the witnesses immediately. That is one course, that is called taking cognizance. When he doesn't want to examine or examine witness complainant, second course is he will hold inquiry himself or appoint somebody else under 202. Or the third course is he will direct investigation under 156(3). वो सब सीखे हैं आपने. If he is not satisfied with any of the cases above, he will say that I will not issue, I will dismiss the complaint. Under the provisions of section 203, he dismisses. But if the court feels that there is a material in the court, at this stage, accused is not called. Accused is not supposed to attend the court. The magistrate himself exercises his judicial mind. When the magistrate is convinced that yes, there is some case in the matter, after examining the accused, there is no cross-examination here, because the notice is not issued to the accused. Please note that when after examination under section 200 रख खोल लीजिए आप. Examination of the complainant takes place under 200 sub clause 1. In this case, the magistrate take cognizance, he issues process under section 204. If in the opinion of the magistrate, taking cognizance of the offence is sufficient ground to proceed to appear, he will summon the accused. So 200 में क्या कहता है? Again come back to 200. A magistrate taking cognizance of the offence on completion on complaint shall examine upon oath the complainant, the witnesses present if any, and the substance of the examination shall be reduced to writing and shall be signed and explained to the witnesses by the magistrate. Provided the magistrate in writing, magistrate need not examine. So this is one course. In the KM Matthews matter, against Malayalam Manorama, he has exercised the discretion under section 200, examine the witnesses and issued the process. Okay? करने के बाद. Then what happened? When summons were issued, one of the editor took up the plea. I am not based in Cochin, I am elsewhere, I am not responsible, no allegations against me. The London magistrate has issued the summons against me in a mechanical manner. So he took up the matter. Yes. He made an application to the magistrate, I should be dropped. It's very interesting. Please note that. This application he made that I may be discharged. Paragraph number 4. The magistrate passed an order. Yes, this gentleman, the chief editor, is not responsible for the defamatory statement. Paragraph number 4, to be more precise, directed that the complaint so far as relate to chief editor should not be proceeded with. So he passed the order. But this particular order passed करने के लिए there is no backing of the provisions in CRPC. But the Supreme Court said it's a correct order. None coming. Then the complainant, who is an advocate by profession, he took the matter to the High Court in revision. So High Court power of revision, I right now read it to you. Section 401. Why revision? Why no appeal? It is not an appealable order. This is an interlocutory order. Kya? Interlocutory order are orders which are passed during the pendency of proceeding. They may be substantially affecting the rights or may not be affecting. But some of the, not all interlocutory orders are appealable. So this particular order issuing summons under 204, 2020, is not appealable under the scheme of the CRPC. Please note that there is no appeal. So hence, revision has been filed. Either you can go to the session court under 397 or 401. So this man chose to go to the High Court directly under 401. The High Court allowed the revision. Yes. What the magistrate has done is, against the provisions of CRPC, there is no provision to drop him. He cannot discharge at this stage. So the revision was allowed, mean the order passed by the magistrate not to proceed with matter has been set aside. Okay. Then the High Court, then the question, the matter went to the High Court did not examine whether the complainant has or made out against the case. So the High Court has not seen the merits of the matter, but the High Court has only seen that according to Supreme Court, the High Court has taken a too technical stand in the matter. Paragraph number 7 में देखिए, because the paragraph number 6 के अंदर कहता है the High Court says there is no provision in the court for dropping the proceeding against any of the accused. So the High Court has directed the magistrate to proceed with the trial for all accused. So I told you the reason why the parliamentarian legislature has not given power of discharge to magistrate in summary cases, in summons cases, because they thought summon cases will be tried faster. Because charges are not being framed here. Time of the court is not being wasted in a summary manner which is tried. So why should the matter should go on? But they don't know. The real problem lies when you're practicing in criminal court in India. The magistrate courts, many times magistrates are not appointed. The proceedings are lingering. In some of the courts, in some of the courts, cases, they have overburdened magistrates. You can come and see in Bandra, go and see one magistrate has got 400 matters a day. How do you expect the poor learned magistrate to dispose of 400 matters a day? So they get remand of various police stations. Each judge is a magistrate is assigned with police station remand, mean the persons in accused who is in custody who are waiting for the remand, 100 people, 200 people, 300 people at time. So it is only after, it is first preference, the Supreme Court has said in Husainara Banu's case, first preference should be given to matters which are in remand, the people who are in jail. Then only you can take regular board. So someone's case ki bari kabhi aayegi, it will come in the last. So by the time the learned magistrate dispose of the bail application remand procedure, it will become 4 o'clock or maybe 4:30. He will discharge the board. He doesn't have time. He is also a human being. He is not a machinery or a computer to dispose of the matter. He has to apply judicial mind. So I won't blame the learned magistrate. So according to me, either you appoint more judges. You cannot reduce the cases unless you have more judges. Because there is no incentive given to these judges in the lower judiciary by the parliament or by the state legislature for their own partisan reason. Then disposal of the rate is very poor. In fact, the Supreme Court has expressed its anguish in the matter. The lower judiciary is being treated in a very stepmotherly manner. It's very unfortunate. So, whatever may be, those are different consequences. So, the fact remains that here the learned magistrate took the view correctly that there is no provision in the CRPC for discharge of a accused person at the interlocutory stage. Hence, the application for discharge made by the one of the chief editor is not maintainable. I am dismissing it. So, the High Court, that was the High Court's view, because the magistrate had taken a very elaborate, very generous view of the matter, giving protection, giving his indulgence to the accused person. Yes, why you should be prosecuted. Like under the CPC, also you have a provision under Order 7, Rule 11. When there is no cause of action, the plaint can be rejected. When you know the election trials are rejected, many of them go to the court. So let us come. Then when the matter came up before the Supreme Court, in paragraph number 7, the Supreme Court says, High Court seems to be too technical in this regard and carefully examine provision against the accused cannot be denied to magistrate. Section 204 of the code indicate that proceeding before the magistrate commences upon taking cognizance and the issue of summons to the accused. When the accused appearing in the accused, magistrate has to take a proceeding under chapter 20 of the code. But the need to try the accused arises when there is allegation in the complaint and the accused has committed the crime. It's a very important observation. If there is no allegation in the complaint involving the accused in the commission of the crime, it is implied that the magistrate has no jurisdiction to proceed against the. Underline the word implied. Mean if there is no express provision, so the magistrate must take into consideration the implied provision. Mean like under section 9 of the Indian Contract Act, contract is express or implied. So you can file a suit for specific performance of a contract, even on an oral commitment, oral contract. मालूम है ना आपको? But in criminal law, it will not do that. Criminal law is more stricter than the civil law. Civil law may be more liberal in such matters. The Indian Contract Act, the Specific Relief Act, CPC, but IPC and CRPC, IPC are required to be construed strictly. Even the provisions of income tax, penal provisions are required to be construed strictly and giving benefit to the accused person in such manner, and you cannot travel beyond the statute. So here the judges of the Supreme Court, the two judgments, they were of the opinion, naturally they were right in a way. At the same time, the parliamentarian also did not read the situation correctly. They were under the impression that the trial before the magistrate would be expeditiously done, so there is no need to have discharge. See, that is the provision, because since the charges are required to be framed, और टाइम ज्यादा नहीं घटने वाला है, फटाफट विटनेस निकाल कर लेंगे and he will examine only principal witness, एक आदमी को, and if he is of the opinion, he will drop the proceeding. But यहाँ पे the question was, this gentleman, without going to the magistrate, he doesn't want to be examined. He made a statement, there is no material against me. I was not even there. He took up the plea of alibi under the Evidence Act, Section 11. When I was not there a particular time, how can I be impleaded? Maybe right. But unfortunately, the scheme of the law tells you, you have to give evidence in that regard. You have to step into the box. You have to undergo examination, chief, cross-examination, re-examination. That is the rigorous. Like a person who is committing a cognizable offense cannot tell the police officer, मैंने कुछ भी नहीं किया. So the police officer has a power to arrest you under Section 41. It's a serious offense. For example, or a case of a abetment of a suicide or a cruelty. A wife has committed suicide within 7 years. There's a presumption it is the in-laws, the husband are responsible. The mother-in-law cannot take up the plea. मैंने कुछ भी नहीं किया. She treated me like a mother. I treated like a daughter. थोड़ी सुनेगा police. You cannot make at this stage. That your stage is come. First record evidence. Come for giving evidence. वो stage पूरा होने के बाद then go before the court. After completion of the investigation, you have a choice to go before the High Court for quashing the FIR. वो अलग बात है. But before submitting, similarly, under the scheme of the trial summons cases before the magistrate, unless the accused submits himself to the jurisdiction of the magistrate and prepares to be examined, he cannot make an application for discharge. But the Supreme Court in KM Matthews State Amala said it's not required. Paragraph number 7 mein, there's the implied jurisdiction to proceed against the accused. Okay. Then paragraph number 8 is important. It is open to the accused to plead before the magistrate that the process against him ought not to have been issued. It is very good. Magistrate may drop the proceeding if is satisfied. The reconsideration of the complaint, there is no effect in this matter. In this jurisdiction, no specific provision is required. Underline this word. No specific provision is required for the magistrate to drop the proceeding or rescind the process. This is what the subsequent bench in Adalat Prasad did not agree with it. They said it is an erroneous proposition. When there is no specific provision in CRPC for discharging in such cases, the court, the Supreme Court, two-bench could not have said that without there being a specific provision, you can drop it. Then see, the order issuing process is an interim order and not a judgment. So, interim order, not a judgment. But once you are dropped, it has become final. No. It may be an interim order, the matter is pending. But as against the accused who has been dropped, it becomes final. It has reached finality. So that is, it is affecting the substantive right of the complainant. So any interim orders which are affecting the substantive rights are appealable under the CPC. When you read the provisions of section 104 CPC and section order 43 rule 1 A, B, C, D से लेके W तक check करें आप, injunction order, appointment of a receiver order, and rejection application. They're all interlocutory orders, but they are appealable because in the CPC, they are affecting your substantive rights. If a right injunction is refused or granted, you will suffer irreparable loss, injury and prejudice of serious nature. So it is made appealable. But if an application for amendment is rejected under the provisions of Order 6, Rule 17, that is an order the court will say it doesn't affect you legally. It's a procedural matter. So that is why no appeal is provided there. You can go in revision. You can go in writ petition. So यहाँ पे the bench of Justice Jagannath Shetty and Yogendra Dayal, they make submission. They write a judgment here. So what if there is no specific provision? If the complaint is vague, why should the magistrate be a spectator? He has the right to pass the order, and there is an implied power. That is what the finding here. So in the instant case, there is no, paragraph number 9, there is no averment against the chief editor except the motives attributed to him. There are no allegation except motive. The motive comes under section 8 of the Indian Evidence Act. Motive, preparation and conduct. It's a matter which is to be proved in trial, not at this stage. So when there is a motive they have mentioned, motive will come into play. So for motive purposes, you can lead circumstantial evidence under the Evidence Act. Now, circumstantial evidence के लिए Pakala Swami, Narayan Swami's case, देखिए Privy Council का I will discuss with you. When gentlemen, the daughter and son-in-law, they cut the body of the father-in-law and father into pieces in the trunk, put it and send it in a train, disappears, we don't know. There was a monetary dispute. किसी को मालूम ही नहीं how the dead body is found in a trunk. Now, what is the motive? Motive, preparation. Who are they? Nobody has seen them who has killed it. But the motive came to light here from the letters of the father-in-law and son-in-law. there was a monetary dispute here, and which money his son-in-law had borrowed the money from father-in-law, which he did not return. When father-in-law demanded it, they came and the daughter and the son-in-law came and stabbed the old man, cut the body into pieces, put in the trunk, and the train में डाल के फेंक दिया. So that aspect you can only prove in a trial, and you cannot, accused cannot make the application, you discharge me, no allegation against me. So, but this is how it is done here. When there is a motive, there is an indirect evidence. There is a circumstantial evidence. So, Supreme Court says that here witnesses may lie, documents may lie, circumstances did not lie. So, the opportunity to be examined, cross-examined must be given here. But the Supreme Court judge they have taken a very generous view of the matter. In the paragraph, they have taken the view, last paragraph, important to note that for a magistrate to take cognizance, editor must be positive ornament, knowledge so and so, complaint in writing. So ultimately the Supreme Court set aside the judgment of the Kerala High Court, inter alia holding that there is no bar to drop the proceedings against the accused person if the complainant does not prima facie disclose any offence against him, no matter even if there is no provision in CRPC. That is the crux of this case. Anybody wants to ask any question? बताइए मेरे. Then I will take the other two judgments. I think time कितना हो गया अभी? 7:45?
7:49.
Okay, I think almost more than 1 hour. 1 hour, 1 hour 20 minutes. Okay. Anybody wants to ask any question before I take up Adalat Prasad? After the break of 10 minutes, we'll go for Adalat Prasad. Adalat Prasad, the Kejriwal's case, and that is Sibbal's case. I will deal with it, and also the Subramanyam's case. Anybody has any question or question? We'll take it after the tea break. You may have your light supper if you want. Those who are eating early can finish it. After 10-15 minutes, we'll meet up. Okay, is that fine?
Okay, sir, fine.
Okay, all the best. See you after 10 minutes. I will be there.
Okay,
Bye.
sir.
Thank you.